Hello and good morning friends, welcome to CEC EduSec live lecture. Dear friends, in this lecture today we are going to talk on library sciences, and today specifically we are going to discuss about the maintenance work in libraries. That is, this is the topic of today's discussion. We are going to understand how libraries are maintained, what is required to be done when we talk of the libraries, and for this we have with us in our studios Dr. Manorma Tripathi. Dr. Tripathi is Deputy Librarian in JNU, that is Jawaharlal Nehru University. So first of all, I would like to welcome our guest Dr. Manorma Tripathi. Welcome to the EduSec lecture, ma'am. When we talk about the libraries, there one required to maintain the libraries, right from keeping the books in the right shelf, or we could say keeping the books chronologically, so that when one needs to access one particular book, it is easily accessible. So through you wish to know how the library work is done, how the maintenance work is done within the libraries.
So, as you know, this maintenance work is very important in libraries in order to provide services, in order to maintain collections properly in the libraries. This maintenance has been derived from the Anglo-French word maintainer, which means to keep in good existing working state. So maintenance work in any library or in any organization is very important in order to provide the services properly to the users, in order to provide the services to the users of that particular organizations. In case of library, the users are readers. So in order to serve the users properly, efficiently, maintenance work is very important. It helps in keeping the collections, or it helps in maintaining the physical infrastructure of the library properly for the present generation of users as well as for the future generation of users. It ensures that the system which comprises collections and as well as physical infrastructure of the library, these things are kept in proper condition so that optimum use is maintained. In case things are not properly maintained, then there will be no order in the system, and users cannot be served efficiently and properly to their satisfaction. That is why maintenance work in any organization is very important. In order to maintain order in the system, or in order to serve the users for which the system is intended. It ensures longevity of the system, it ensures order in the system. The maintenance, as this slide shows, the maintenance of any system is very essential in order to keep it functional, and it ensures its existence and optimum use for which it is intended. Now we will just focus upon the different activities which are followed in libraries in order to ensure the system, in order to serve the users, in order to serve the readers in an efficient manner. First one is inventory control, preservation and conservation, binding, weeding, self-preparation, stacks maintenance, and maintenance of opaque online databases, computers, and peripherals. This slide shows the various activities which are undertaken or which are done as part of maintenance work in the libraries. We will talk about these different activities one by one. Inventory control. Inventory control, it is also known as stock verification or stock taking. These are the different terms which are used synonymously. And they have the same purpose of ascertaining the physical availability of the items which have been procured in the library. Because libraries procure different items like books, periodicals, journals, and then other computers and all these physical infrastructure is also maintained. So whatever is procured in the library has to maintain a proper record of what is being procured, because libraries or universities spend lot of money and they have to be accountable. In order to show what has been procured, they have to properly maintain. Inventory refers to the material or items in the stock or collection. It is done in order to find out the items which have been procured, recorded or listed in the stock register or accession register, for which an organization has spent a considerable amount of money, are physically present in the collection. Inventory control, it is undertaken in the library in order to ensure that whatever library has spent money on, whatever items, be it books or journals or computers which libraries have procured, whether they are physically available in the library or not. That is why inventory control is undertaken. In order to ensure, in order to show, in order to make sure that those things, those items which have been procured, they are physically available in the library. Now there are rules which have to be followed with regard to physical verification of the books. According to GFR of Government of India, 100% physical verification of books is done at 3-year interval if the collection of the library is equal to 20,000 or less than 20,000. That means if a library has a collection of 20,000 volumes, then it has to check them, it has to undertake physical verification at a time interval of 3 years. But in case the collection held by the library is more than 20,000 but less than 50,000, in that case libraries have to go for physical verification of their books, of their collection, at a time interval of 5 years. In case the collection is more than 50,000 but less than 1 lakh, in such cases libraries have to undertake sample verification, or it is also known as random verification. That means 20% of the total collection has to be checked if the collection is more than 50,000 but less than 1 lakh volumes. And this figure of 1 lakh includes back volumes of journals too. And if verification shows loss of 10% or more, complete physical verification has to be undertaken. These rules, these guidelines are prescribed in the Journal Financial Rules of Government of India 2005. Now coming to what does it involve? That means what is being done in inventory control, or what is being done in stock verification or stock taking. As I said, inventory control or stock verification or stock taking, these are the terms which are used synonymously or interchangeably. Inventory control or stock verification involves checking the library collection on the shelves against the catalog records. This helps in identifying the cost of misplaced, mutilated or damaged items which need to be replaced, mended, repaired or weeded out. In inventory control, a checking is done, a checking of books which are physically present on the shelves. They are tallied, they are matched against the records which are being maintained through catalog. And this way, by physical checking, the library staff easily finds out what are the items which are missing in the collection, what are the items which need to be replaced, or what are the items which need to be mended or repaired. So what are the various reasons for which inventory control or stock taking or physical verification of books is done? First is to maintain accountability and transparency. As we know, libraries spend huge amount of money on different items which they procure, like books, journals, periodicals, magazines, newspapers. These are procured, they are organized, they are processed, they are organized, they are displayed for the users. So this stock verification helps in maintaining the accountability and transparency by highlighting the losses and damages suffered by the library. It helps in ascertaining, it helps in assuring that whatever has been procured is physically available in the library. It is not that procurement has been done only through files and the thing is not there in physically present in the premises of the library. This very work of physical verification helps in ensuring the physical availability of the items. To maintain accuracy of catalog records, there may be inconsistencies, discrepancies or gaps between libraries' actual holdings and catalog records. The discrepancies or gaps may arise due to items getting lost, misplaced and mutilated beyond repair. There may be instances when a user may spend considerable time in searching a book which is shown in the catalog but in fact may be lost or misplaced. That means there may be cases where a particular book is shown in catalog but in fact it is not present physically in the library. A user may spend hours and hours together in looking for that particular book but then may realize that book is not there in the shelf. This may arise. Such cases or such situations, they are very embarrassing for the library staff and they erode the confidence of the users in libraries as perfect partners. They lose the confidence in libraries when the users, they don't get book which is available, which is being shown in the catalog that the book is available in the library, but the library doesn't have it. So in such cases, what happens? The users, they get frustrated, they are disappointed, they lose confidence in the library as an organization or as a service institution which can cater to their information needs. So inventory control helps in finding records of such lost books and accordingly the catalog can be updated. To evaluate the condition of material on shelves, inventory control also helps in revealing the physical condition of the items. The items may be damaged or mutilated. Such items can be mended, repaired and preserved for future use. If library staff feels the item is damaged beyond repair, it can be removed from the collection and information can be updated accordingly in the catalog. That means this physical verification of the items of the collections held by the library, they also help in evaluating the physical condition of the material. When the library staff is undertaking the process of physical verification, they check each and every item. So while in the process of checking, they can easily find out if a particular book is damaged, mutilated, or it is in such a condition that it's not fit enough to be used. So such items can be repaired or mended, or they can be withdrawn from the active collection of the library and the catalog can be updated accordingly. So this is another reason why physical verification or inventory control is done. That is to evaluate the condition of the books which are arranged on shelves. To evaluate the quality of cataloging record, the inventory control process may bring to light the errors which may be there in the catalog records of the items held by the library. For instance, there may be entries in the catalog which may not be according to the rules of the catalog. There may be punctuation error, or there may be random use of articles. So while checking is being done, while verification is being done, a record can be prepared of all those errors and those errors can be rectified by the staff at a future date. Another reason behind it is to analyze the strength and weaknesses of the library collection. Inventory control also highlights the subject areas or disciplines in which library has a strong collection and areas in which collection needs to be strengthened. The library staff, after a proper review in consultation with faculty members, procures items accordingly. Besides, circulation records can be analyzed to find out what are the titles which are very commonly or popularly used, and which are the books which have not been circulated even once. So this way it also helps in highlighting or in revealing what are the underused or what are the items or what are the books which have never been used by the users. To find out and assess the efficiency of security system of the library. This inventory control or stock verification, it also highlights or it also brings to the fore the items which have been lost and the system has no information with regard to that. For instance, when students lose or damage any book, they have to pay a kind of penalty, a fine to the library. Or when they come to return the book and they don't have, so libraries can recover the cost when the students they damage the books or books are unknowingly damaged by them. Then when they check the book or when they return the book, the library can ask them to pay a fine for the damage to the book for the damage which they have done to the book. So this way library easily knows when some damage is caused by the students. But there may be cases when the books are lost or damaged in the library through theft or through vandalism which is being done by the students. So this inventory control also highlights or brings to the fore all the damage which is done through theft or through the vandalism caused by the students. Now time for inventory control. Inventory control should be conducted at a time and in a manner which causes least inconvenience to the readers. That means library may decide to undertake the work of stock verification during summer vacations when the students are on holidays and they are not visiting the libraries, or the library may decide to do it during the working days when the students are not on vacations, but then it can decide that certain stacks will remain inaccessible for the students and they will be intimated accordingly. So it depends upon the decision or policy taken by the library. Conducting an inventory control. So when a library decides to undertake inventory control or stock verification, it has to notify the students or notify the registered users to return whatever books they have to the library, and for some period of time, and after that they can again get the books issued. So first work is notifying or intimating. That means library has to inform its users to return all the books. They have to be notified. They have to be intimated that library intends to undertake the work of stock verification and that they need to return the books. The next is training the staff. Libraries may decide to engage their in-house staff in conducting the work, in conducting the work of stock verification, or it may outsource the work. In case it decides in favor of getting the work done by its own staff, in this case it has to train its staff, it has to educate the staff how to undertake the work of inventory control. Then before the work is started, library has to ensure that all the books belonging to various subjects, they are properly shelved, because stock verification cannot be done if the collection of the library is not arranged properly or if the collection is in a very haphazard manner. So before initiating the work of stock verification, libraries have to ensure that their shelves are properly arranged, that the collections of the library, they are properly shelved on the various stacks. Then there are different systems of undertaking stock verification. One is manual system, that is done manually, and the other one is in which barcoded scanners are used, barcoded labels are used, or there are libraries which also use RFID technology in order to undertake this work of inventory control. Now, the manual system of conducting an inventory control, it involves shelf list. The library has shelf list, which is basically a file of cards or slips containing a record for each book or documents in the collection. It has the following information which helps in its identification: call number of the book, title, first author, brief description of the item, copy number, edition number. The shelf is arranged in the exact sequence, the shelf list is arranged in the exact sequence of call number as books are arranged on the shelves. That means shelf list is there in the exact sequence as the books are arranged on the shelves. So there are two staff involved who do the matching work. 2 staff are required to match the shelf list with the books in the shelves. If an item is checked, is in proper physical state, it is ticked with the pencil. If an item is not found on the shelf list is marked with a pencil. A slip or card may be inserted or clipped for further review at a later stage. During the matching activity, if any item is found to be damaged or needs to be repaired, the same is noted and recorded for further decision making. So what happens in manual system? Manual system, in fact, matching is done. 2 staff are involved. 1 staff has this shelf list, and the other staff is there in the who checks the books on shelves physically. And if the book is found, then it is ticked with pencil, and a stamp of stock verification is also prepared, and the book is also marked with that stamp that shows it has been, it generally bears SV, that means stock verification, it has been stock verified. And if a staff feels that a particular book is damaged or it needs to be replaced, then also they mark it with pencil, and accordingly a decision is taken at a later stage whether to replace it, whether to repair it, or whether it should be withdrawn from the collection. Now this was about the manual system where 2 staff were involved in matching the physical collection with the shelf list. The other system which is also adopted, which is actively or commonly adopted by the libraries these days, is automated system. The automated inventory control system works by scanning the barcode labels pasted on the items. Barcode labels, as this slide shows, they have those vertical lines, black and white, of varying length, of varying breadth. A barcode is a machine readable information on a scannable visual surface. It is read by a special scanner that reads the information directly from it. The barcode label contains the information about the object to which it is attached. The label is a series of parallel black bars and white spaces of varying width. These black bars and white space represent information like title, author of the book. Nowadays, all libraries have barcoded labels on the collections. That means libraries usually put barcoded labels on their collection, and these barcoded labels have information like title, author of the book. And these barcode labels, they are readable by a barcode reading machine. And barcodes, the barcode reading machine is known as scanner, which reads the information from these barcode labels which are pasted on the books. A barcode scanner is a device which is used to read the barcode labels which are pasted on the books. A mobile barcode scanner is also known as data reader, and it can store up to more than 2000 accession numbers or so in its memory. Then once the sorted data can be matched, once it has already stored in 2000 accession numbers, it can be downloaded, it can be transferred to a file which can, in a computer, which can be saved as a doc file or Excel file, and after more scanning of barcode pasted books, after more scanning of books which have barcode labels, then those more files can be appended to the original file, and then sorting work can take place. That means the sorted data can be matched with the database of library through the module of integrated library management software. A report of missing books can easily be generated through the stock verification module of library management software. If the books have been missing since long, they can be written off and data updated accordingly. Nowadays, as I said, some of the libraries, they are using radio frequency RFID technology for this stock verification work. RFID stands for radio frequency identification. This technology is a combination of radio frequency based technology and microchip technology. The items, as in the previous case, they had barcode coded labels. These items have RFID tags in place of barcode labels. An RFID tag is an important component of RFID system. It stores information relating to the specific item to which it has been fixed. It holds data about identification for a document, proof of ownership, original storage location, loan status, and other bibliographical details of the documents. That means RFID tags which are there pasted on the books, they have all the information with regard to the book on which RFID tag is there, with regard to the ownership of the book, with regard to the status of the book, whether the book has been issued or not, and it has all the bibliographical details of the books. That means all the bibliographical details are present on that small tag. The tag is very thin and can be put between the users, between the pages of the book, and readers cannot make out where the tag is located. This slide shows the picture of a RFID tag. That means this RFID tag has all the information with regard to the item to which it is, for example, in case of, it has all the information with regard to the book on which it is pasted, all bibliographical details, what is the location of the book, what is the status of the book, whether it has been issued or not. With the help of a portable handheld reader cum scanner, a library staff may examine a particular stack and determine if items are either missing or out of place. This work can be done without the need to remove the items from the shelves. It helps in detecting gaps and books which have been shelved at the wrong places. Now, another activity which is being undertaken in libraries as part of maintenance work is preservation. The word preservation has been derived from preserve, which means to keep safe from harm, injury, physical or chemical change. In fact, this preservation is a rubric term, it's an umbrella term which is used in libraries to describe everything which is done in connection with protecting items like books, maps, CDs, etc. Activities which are undertaken as part of preservation, good housekeeping, control temperature, instructions on care and handling, and emergency response plan security of collections held by the library, activities of reformatting, repair and binding. So preservation is an umbrella term which is used in library context, and it refers to all activities which are undertaken with an aim to preserve, to extend the life of collections held by the library. For example, different activities associated with are different activities which are undertaken in library, like good housekeeping, control temperature. That means they have to be the work of preservation on maintenance work has to be done on a regular basis, with proper monitoring and upkeep. There has to be, efforts have to be taken in to ensure security of the collection. Collections have to be maintained at a proper temperature. Then library may decide to go for reformatting of the books, repair and binding. These are all activities which are undertaken under preservation. So that means preservation is an umbrella term or rubric term which refers to all activities which are undertaken by the libraries for maintaining the collections for present generation of users, as well as for maintaining them for posterity or for future generations to come. It can be defined as the activity of protecting something from loss or danger, a process which saves substances from decay. It is a branch of library and information science concerned with maintaining or restoring or ensuring access to artifacts, documents, and records. The primary goal of preservation is to prolong the existence of material or objects. That means the primary goal of preservation is to maintain the collection or to maintain the collections which are being held by the libraries. Now there are different advantages. Let's talk about the advantages of preservation. Preservation, they facilitate access to knowledge and information resources, since information resources or knowledge resources or the collections held by the library, they are maintained and they in a proper condition for present and future users. So that means these preservation activities, they facilitate access to knowledge and information. Preservation activities, they ensure longevity of use of the information. That means if the information resources, they are properly maintained, they can be maintained, the life of the objects or life of the information resources can be extended. It ensures longevity. And this preservation activity also helps in restoring mutilated objects or damaged books to a usable state. Reduction in cost related to reacquiring. So once a book or any information resource is damaged, preservation activity helps in restoring that book or damaged object to a usable state. So this way library also saves on money. Enhancement of journal and periodicals archiving. That means journals and periodicals, they are archived, they are stored through the help of these preservation activities for long-term use. That means journals, they are not only to be used they are not only for present use or for short-term use. They are maintained, they are procured, they are kept in libraries, they are maintained in libraries with a view to serve the users, not only users of today but also future users who may need the journals and periodicals which the library has procured today, even after a time gap of 20 to 40 years. So these preservation activities, they help in journal and periodicals archiving. Then different preservation activities also include digitization work. That means the physical objects, they are digitized and they are maintained on servers. So this way library also saves on physical spaces. Now different categories of material which requires preservation or maintenance: research material, material of permanent or enduring value, circulating collections, that means items like books which are in active circulation, reference material, these are used within the four walls of the library. The binding of reference books is very vulnerable to damage. That means reference material, they are used within the four walls of the library. They are like encyclopedias, they are dictionaries, they are not issued. They have thick binding and which is very much vulnerable to damage. So special attention has to be paid to maintenance of these reference material. Ephemeral material, material which is withdrawn very soon, ephemeral material which doesn't have value of long-term value, which doesn't have long-term value. Library may receive pamphlets or reports, and then it may take decision accordingly whether they have to be preserved for long-term usage, for long-term access or not. Digital assets, these are electronic objects which have been created digitally or they may have been digitized from non-digital sources. Digital assets, that means those digital items which have been digitized from physical books or physical items, or which are they also refer to digital assets, also refer to objects which are born digitally, that means which have come into existence digitally and they do not have any physical counterparts. Then general policies of preservation. Monitoring library practices for adherence to established preservation practices. Libraries, they need to develop their policies, they need to have policies for preservation in black and white. That is very important. Libraries need to lay down what policies of preservation they will follow in future, and they need to put it in black and white. Then since library staff, they are the ones who have to maintain the collections, so they have to be educated, they have to be trained in different preservation policies and practices which they need to practice for preservation, for proper maintenance. Then monitoring the condition of the collection through surveys and identifying the collection in need of preservation treatment. Libraries they need to undertake survey, they need to identify the collections which need immediate attention for preservation. Then once they identify, they also need to keep a tab, they need to identify opportunities, they need to identify avenues from where they can get grants and financial assistance to undertake different preservation activities. Now another activity is conservation, which is also a part of maintenance. Conservation is defined as treatment procedures or specific policies that slow or damage or prevent the deterioration, but they do not diminish the value or information contained within the artifact. That means conservation activities are generally undertaken to delay or to slow the damage or deterioration of the objects. Then different steps or different activities which are undertaken as the activities which are undertaken for conserving or for conservation of different items are binding of books and journals, treatment of special or rare items, repair of circulating and non-circulating items, and all these library policies and procedures aim at conserving the collection for posterity. That means binding Binding, generally libraries go for binding of books and journals. Different libraries have in-house bindery section too. All small binding, if some binding work has to be done on small scale, it is done in-house by the staff of the library. But when binding, for example, there are libraries which acquire or procure journals in hundreds, so that work of binding cannot be done in-house. So that is when the libraries procure journals in big numbers, and they have to be bound, because binding of journals keeps them in proper usable condition for longer periods. So in such cases, what happens? Library outsources the binding work to commercial agencies. Then if the book, there are items which are put in circulation, for example, books which are circulated, that means which are regularly issued to the users, and since due to use on a regular basis, they are subject to wear and tear, and if the libraries found that such books are stray in number, are less in number, they can be repaired in-house. So in-house bindery section repairs or binds the book. In case books are the library feels that there are books in hundreds which need to be repaired, then it can take decision, and accordingly books can be sent to commercial bindery. And when books are or journals, they are sent in commercial bindery, then proper records have to be maintained of all those items which are being sent to bindery, and accordingly information has to be provided in catalog. So whenever users come for or whenever users browse or access the catalog and they find they need to use a particular book or journal, they can easily make out that it is temporarily not available, it is temporarily not in circulation, because it has been sent out for binding or for repair. So this information has to be provided in catalog. Whatever books are being sent outside or whatever journals are being sent outside for binding, the records of all those books and journals, they have to be maintained properly. And instructions have to be given to binder how the binding has to be done. That means what information has to be provided on spine, what information has to be provided, volume number, issue number, book name, author. These instructions have to be clearly conveyed to the binders in order to get the work done as per the need. And when the binder returns the whole stock after doing the stock which comes in, it has to be tallied with the list which was prepared when the books and journals were sent out. So all these things have to be checked, have to be monitored by the staff. And if the work has not been done as per the instructions given to the binder, then binder is asked to redo the work. So what are the advantages? It provides another activity which is undertaken as part of maintenance work in libraries is digitization. Digitization is conversion of analog information to digital form. In the digital format, information is organized into discrete units of data called bits that can be read by computers. That under digitization, what happens? The physical books or documents or journals or whatever document library decides to digitize, they are scanned and they are maintained on servers. Now let's talk about what are the advantages of digitization. If a book is available in physical form, then a user has to come and visit the library and access the book in order to get the physical, in order to consult the book physically. But once the book has been digitized, it can be made accessible on intranet or on internet, and users can easily access the content without visiting the library physically. So that means access to the content is widened. More number of users can consult the same book. It provides access to collections and reduces handling of originals. Since a book has been digitized, so if users want to access that particular book, then they need not come and physically use the book. A particular copy of a title can be used by many users at the same time. It adds value to the collection by providing different functionalities like zoom, indexing, non-linear searching, etc. These features allow users to examine minutely details and take outputs as per requirements. It facilitates access by unlimited number of users simultaneously with internet connectivity. It enhances the use of collection by extending access to wider audience, irrespective of time and location. Digitization can help in preserving and maintaining audio and video formats and can facilitate access and use of wide range of formats through a single interface. As you know, libraries these days, they are digitizing theses and dissertations held by them. So whatever theses and dissertations are there, libraries are actively digitizing them and placing them on internet for anyone to access. Once the content, once the thesis has been digitized, it is available on internet and users can access from any nook and corner of the world. But for the same, their physical copy, for using the physical copies of the same document or thesis and dissertations, users are no longer required to come and visit the library physically. That means a single thesis or dissertation can be, in case it has been digitized, can be accessed by the users, n number of users simultaneously. That means at the same point of time, n number of users can access a particular document if it is available in digitized form. So these are the advantages of digitization. Anyone can access anytime. Access to the same document is widened. That means more number of users can access the same title, can access the same document at the same point of time, which is not possible if the document is present in the physical form. Now, various steps which are involved in digitization. That means first, libraries have to decide, they have to take a decision what collection has to be digitized. Then they have to decide, they have to take, they cannot go on, they cannot start the work abruptly. A proper procedure has to be followed. That means they have to take administrative and financial approval. That they have to give a rough estimate that this much of time will be involved in digitizing this much of collection and this much of funds will be required. For example, if a library has a collection of theses and dissertations which it decides to digitize and make it available to people on internet, so it cannot just start the work abruptly. First, it has to take a decision that what are the advantages of digitizing the collection. Then it has to take administrative and financial approval from the authorities that this much of time will be involved and this much of funds will be required for completing, for initiating and completing the work. So administrative and financial approval will be taken. Then collection has to be identified, that if library will decide, will start the work with all the thesis, or will it go for MPhil dissertations too, or it will go for other rare books too. So a collection, the collection which has to be digitized has to be decided upon. Then after that, library has to take a decision whether it will outsource the work or it will do it, it will engage its own staff. So whether the work has to be outsourced or whether it has to be executed, done by the in-house staff only, decision has to be taken accordingly. So if it has to be done inside by in-house staff, then whether scanners will be procured or what other physical infrastructure will be required, whether computers will be procured for that work or scanners will be procured. Then once digitization work has been done, what metadata will be used, what metadata will be given to different digital objects, then who will validate the different metadata, or who will validate the quality of the whole work, then how the files will be maintained, whether images will be maintained in what format, or the textual content will be maintained in which files. All these decisions have to be taken by a committee of members. Then whether the content will be available, whether the digitized content will be made available on internet for anyone to access, or whether the content will be made available on intranet only. So that way decision has to be taken. And then preservation, how the content which has been digitized, how will it be preserved for long-term use. All these decisions have to be taken in the work of digitization which a library decides to undertake. Then when a library decides to go for digitization work, then there are various precautions which need to be undertaken too. When a library decides to digitize, then there are different standards and guidelines which have to be followed. So standards and guidelines for producing and how digital files will be maintained for long term, accessibility and usability, because all these things, standards and guidelines, are still not very clear and robust. So precautions have to be taken with regard to this. Then there are different copyright laws too which impose restrictions on what can be digitized or otherwise. So libraries have to be very careful with regard whenever they undertake any digitization work. They have to pay attention to what the copyright laws say. Binding, we have already seen that libraries actively undertake this work of binding, and when the books or journals have to be bound in big numbers, then they are outsourced, given to an external agency. But when there are a couple of cases which need to be handled or repaired, then the work can be done by in-house bindery. Then another activity which is very actively undertaken by the libraries is weeding. It has to be done on a regular basis. It refers to removing items, books, journals and other material from the collection as one removes weeds from a cultivated land. It is culling outdated and no longer useful material from the collection. A good collection development plan must include weeding. The process of weeding is a key part of assessing the collection. That means weeding is something like, like in removing some, in the library context, to be very precise, weeding means removing unwanted items, and it has lot of importance. The purpose of weeding is to ensure a quality collection which is current, in good physical condition, and it supports the curriculum and personal interest of the students. That means it is done in the libraries in order to maintain, in order to ensure that whatever collection is available, it is current, in good physical condition, and it caters, the collection is strong enough, is good enough to cater to the information requirements of the users, of the students, of the researchers, or anything which is unwanted, which is not likely to cater to the information requirements of the users, is removed. Weeding, it aims at creating an organized, uncluttered learning environment which is visually appealing. It brightens the overall collection by removing dull, worn out, and communicates to the students that libraries are places for lifelong learning. In case the libraries are cluttered with unused or worn out or dated collection, then students will not feel tempted to come and use the collections. So in order to ensure that books are used to the maximum, to the optimum, libraries have to take weeding work at regular intervals in order to ensure, in order to weed out, in order to cull out the lesser used items, in order to cull out the dated collection. If the libraries don't have any weeding policy, or if the weeding out work is not done, so after a period of time it will be felt that library is cluttered with the objects or with the books which are not required. So this weeding work also helps in locating and finding material, since there will not be any cluttering of unwanted books or collections. Then there are different criteria which are used for weeding out work, and those criteria may differ from library to library. Some libraries may decide to take weeding work after every 5 years. Some libraries may decide if the new editions have come up, they will remove the old editions of the book. And if there are journals which are old journals which are not used, but libraries may decide that in case they need it, they can just share with other partner libraries. So there are different policies or different criteria which are being considered while weeding work is undertaken. And those criteria may differ from library to library. Another activity which is undertaken as part of maintenance work is self-preparation. Self-preparation, as the very term indicates, preparing the books for shelves. And it involves all the work of physically verifying the books, whether they are intact or whether they are damaged or they need to be bound for proper maintenance. So the work of self-preparation involves inspecting the item in order to ensure that it is in proper condition, not damaged or torn. In case it is torn or damaged, the vendor is asked to replace it with a new one. Self-preparation is done immediately after the book is procured or journal is procured. So it involves inspecting the item to ensure that it is fit enough to be used, it is in proper condition. Then after it has been ensured, after it has been verified that the book is not torn or damaged, barcode labels are pasted, different library labels, book pockets, due date slips, book cards, they are all pasted. And then these barcode labels, they are pasted at 3 places. There is one confidential page too. Then adding covers to the books or reinforcement. If the book is paperback, at times libraries may decide if the book is paperback, they may bind it before they are sent to shelves for circulation. Then proper self-preparation helps the user. What is the advantage or what is the need of self-preparation? It helps the users in locating the books and other material and speeds the procedures followed by circulation and shelving the personnel. Since the work of self-preparation involves putting proper labels, class number, barcode labels, which provides information with regard to class number and all, pasting book labels, pasting book pockets, all these labels, all these activities, they help in identifying, or these labels or library stamps, they help in identifying what is the exact location of the book. So it ensures ensures proper circulation. It ensures that books are in proper place, and if books are in proper place, then only its use can be, or their maximum use can be ensured.
Definitely, ma'am. If the books are placed in a proper place, they are easily accessible, as well as it goes into the right hand at the right time. With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for explaining how libraries are maintained for efficient working as well as for the accessibility. Thank you. Thank you so very much.